And moving right along to our featured speaker today, we have George Kelly. He's here. He's been featured in the MREA Playbook. He's averaged over 140 units a year for 8 years. He's a big proponent of command, and he runs a 25 agent team in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Welcome, George. How you
What's
doing?
going on? Nice to be on here. I like the fact that I still have been able to have a headshot from about 7 years ago that I kind of still look like, right? I'm figuring if I'm going a little gray, I don't think so just yet, but I'm hoping that I can hold up to keep that headshot going as long as possible.
I don't know about everyone else, but I think you look way better in person. So
Thank you. Thank
that's
you.
very
Appreciate
accurate screenshot. You're looking good.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate being on here. So guys, 2 second introduction. George Kelly, South Jersey. All right. No, I wish I could be up in North Jersey where the average price point is literally close to double what I do here, but I live in Haddonfield, which is just about 15-minute train ride from city of Philadelphia. So just over the bridge. My entire career of nearly 12 years now has been with Keller Williams. I sold a whopping 4 homes in my first year, really set the world on fire. Then 20, then 99, then 150, and we average around 140 a year. And me personally, I have never really closed more than like 15 in a year. So this is sort of like from the start, I am more of a business person who focuses on hitting goals than I am a person who is focused on me out there, selling 800,000 different units a year. But the first thing I would like to ask, I would love for everybody, especially all these names that I see, let's come into the world and turn our cameras on, right?
You
I
are preaching
appreciate.
to the choir there. I love that.
I'm gonna give the kudos to those of you who started with those cameras on and who've had those cameras on. I don't care if you're in the car. I don't care if if you're sitting on the couch. I don't care if you're, bathtub. Okay, let's keep it off in the restroom. But everybody else, feel free to turn the camera on, because today is not about me, right? Today is about me trying to give you guys a system to help all of you. It is something that has worked for me for a long time. I am not a big proponent of having to have a system in place that would require me to be doing 10 different things. I need to keep things as simple as humanly possible. So, have any of you guys ever taken the business planning clinic with Gene Rivers? Anybody here? See a couple hands up, right? So, a number of years ago, I took Gene's class. I've probably taken it 8 times now, but something he said stood out, and it was his lifestyle investment debt, right? His lid combination for setting his goals that I then took and applied into a spreadsheet in my business, and then used that spreadsheet to then work and coach with different agents over the years in order to build their businesses up to what they want by having a really simple system in place. So, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to ask for one person. You don't have to reveal yourself just yet, but I'm going to ask for one person to role play with me, to be so kind as to be a little vulnerable and to role play with me. So, think if you're that person who wants to role play, in just a couple minutes, I'll ask for a volunteer. But let's set this system up from the start. So anyone, it doesn't matter whether you've been in the business for 20 years or whether you've been in the business for 20 minutes. It doesn't matter whether you have 200 grand to put at this or you have 20 bucks to your name. Anyone can follow the system that I am about to lay out. If you are someone who happens to use KW Command, you will be using simply 4 smart plans in order to run this system. If you are not someone who uses KW Command, that's perfectly fine, as long as you can set automated reminders in order to have your life be simple by having some sort of system to say, here's who you should talk to today. So for those of you who actually want to follow the system in the same exact fashion that I do, I'm going to say that you need the 4 basic smart plans to run this system. So inside of your command, in your smart plans, you would go into your library, and then the 4 smart plans that you would choose would be A, the monthly call plan. This is a call plan by Marty Miller, and all it is a reminder to talk to that person in your contacts module once a month. Now, you'll use 2 of the Keller Williams smart plans, one being the quarterly call plan, and the other being the monthly neighborhood nurture. And then the 4th and final smart plan, all you have to do is look up the author name and type in my name. It's just George Kelly. And the smart plan is a weekly call follow-up. That's it. So the 4 smart plans, this is how simple it is. Whether you're utilizing Command or whether you're utilizing a third-party system or whether you're just using Gary Keller's old style of simply putting the names into the box, you just need a reminder system that you can put people on for a quarterly touch, a monthly touch, a weekly touch, or a drip campaign nurture about their home. That's it. Any questions so far? All right. Lively group. I really appreciate all the feedback. That was just a joke. Come on, let's see. Let's get engaged here. So here's where I'm going to ask for who wants to be my role play partner.
As much as I would love to volunteer, I'm not an agent. I'm the insurance guy. I'm happy to help if...
All right, Trey, how about you pretend for like 5 minutes that you sell real estate for a living?
Okay, let's do it.
All right, Trey, by the end of this conversation, you might actually be switching fields, okay? Because I would like to work with you through achieving your goals through a very, very simple system. But Trey, the whole thing is, if I told you how much money I want you to make, that doesn't mean anything to you. If I told you, hey, you need to sell X amount of units a year in order to be successful, that doesn't mean anything to you. So we have customized this spreadsheet here, and we call it the 12-month LID goal spreadsheet. And as I said before, LID simply stands for the acronym Lifestyle, Investment, and Debt. Trey, would you agree that you're not going to be able to invest in the future that you want or pay off any debt if you're not at least making the money you need to live?
Undoubtedly, yes.
All right. So let's look at it from this standpoint. Trey, what are your monthly expenses to live?
You want me to tell you the number?
Sure. Yeah, great. Go ahead.
So mortgage, everything, we're at like $5,000, $5,200 a month.
All right. Trey, I have to say, good job on locking in that interest rate, because I don't know anybody who all in is at $5K a month with mortgage in North Jersey. So everybody give Trey a round of applause. Thank you. Really great job on that. So Trey, when I enter your $5,000 into this monthly expense category, it comes out and says Trey needs to make $60,000 a year in order to live the lifestyle he wants to live.
Hey,
Now,
George, just a side note, Trey is from our insurance partner, and they're actually based in Pennsylvania. He's probably closer to where you are.
Yeah, I live in Philadelphia. I live in Roxborough.
Oh, cool. All right. So I could get to Trey a lot quicker than you guys can get to Trey. It's all right. All right. So, Trey, in order for you to live your life, you need $60,000 of yearly expenses. But here's the thing, especially for those of us that are in the sales world, right? We never know what that thing is going to be in our life that's going to cause a little hiccup. Maybe it's a market shift. Maybe something happens to you. Maybe it's a divorce. Maybe it's a death. Maybe it's something you don't want to think about. As a guy who's in insurance, I'm sure this is a pitch you can understand. So we want to make sure that you additionally put 6 months of reserve cash into the bank. So in order for you to hit your lid, your $5,000 a month, your L is going to be $90,000. Now, Trey, over the next 12 months, would you like to buy a new primary home, buy a second home, whether it's the Poconos or maybe it's down the shore? Would you like to buy a cash flowing investment property, put money away for your kids' college? Would you like to invest in a second business, give money to a church, charity, or foundation, or maybe put some money away in retirement? In the next 12 months, what would you like to do?
I mean, right now I'm big on stacking towards retirement, so probably the last one of the list.
Cool. How much money do you want to put there in the next 12 months?
Probably around 50,000 would be my guess.
All right. So I'm going to put $50,000 here. And now, Trey, I'm going to ask you the final question, which is there any debt that you would like to pay off over the next 12 months? Credit card debt, an auto loan, a percentage of a home loan, any student debt for yourself or any children, or any other type of debt you would like to pay off towards the principal in the next 12 months?
Well, the only one applicable here would be the home loan, and yeah, sure, I'd love to chip some of that away, George.
All right. How much do you want to pay off?
Maybe another 20,000.
So, Trey, if I told you that at the end of 12 months, you would make enough money to live your life, plus you would have $30,000 of cash sitting in the bank, you would have $50,000 put in towards your retirement, and you would pay off another 20 grand towards your home. Would you say that that was a successful 12 months for you?
Definitely.
All right. Trey, in order to make that happen, you need to net $160,000. But here's the thing. Our friends at the IRS, they always like to take their piece too. So I calculate this in at a high level. I will admit some of you might pay a little less or maybe even a little more than the 33% federal income tax level. But if we're calculating at that level, Trey, you would need to actually earn $238,806 in order to net the $160,000 here. So here's the thing. For everybody who's going to get a copy of this and fill this out, Trey, there is a total additional income spot here that if you scroll down to the bottom of this chart, you're able to enter in any additional potential income, whether that means money you might make on a flip or money that comes in annually from a spouse or partner, money you might make from KW profit shares, or by investing in third-party entities. So Trey, would you like me to put any additional income into any of these categories?
Would I like you to? Yes.
Yeah. Right. Hey, look, but it's all right. We're role playing here. So just so everybody knows, if we were to put money here, that carries up here into the total additional income needed. Now, Trey, in order to make those things happen, you need now $238,806. And sometimes that number can seem a little large, a little intimidating, especially for our newer people in the business, or maybe you're thinking to yourself, that's nice, but I've never made $238,000 in a year. So, Al, what is the average commission check for an agent in the BCP markets?
Probably, let's say 12,000.
All right. So if the average commission check is $12,000, Trey, you would actually need to close 20 units in a year in order to make that happen. See, but not all of your contracts are ever going to make it to the closing table. So you actually need 23 contracts to turn into 20 closings. And not every single one of your clients is going to turn into a contract. So you need 28 clients in order to turn into 23 contracts in order to close 20 deals. Now, at a ratio of 50-1, meaning you need to have 50 real estate conversations in order to land one client, Trey, you would need to have 1,377 conversations throughout the year, or broken down a little further, you would need to have 344 conversations per quarter. Now, if each and every one of you remember, one of the 4 smart plans that I put on the board that you should have would be a quarterly call plan. So Trey, in order for you to make this happen, you would need to have at least 344 people in your database on a quarterly call plan. Now, here's the real question. There are 52 work weeks in a year. There are some weeks you're going to take vacation. There are some weeks that you're going to want off for holiday. There are some weeks that you might be sick. How many weeks would you like me to subtract for vacation/holiday?
I think 5's a good number.
All right. So Trey, there are 52 work weeks in a year. If you're taking 5 off, that means there's 47 actual work weeks. That means that you need to have 29 conversations per week, coming down 5 days a week, simply working Monday to Friday. That means you need to have 5.9 real estate conversations per day. So Trey, I ask you, if the only thing standing between you and hitting your monthly expenses, putting away 30 grand in reserves, putting 50,000 towards retirement, and paying off $20,000 on your home loan, if the only thing standing between you and that was 5.9 real estate conversations per day, would you tell me you could do it?
Yeah, it seems very attainable.
Guys, it doesn't matter what Trey's goal is, right? It matters what your goal is. We utilize this sheet to simply come up with one number, and that is how many real estate conversations do I need to have per day to achieve the things I actually want in life. So maybe if I ran this same exact thing with Jess, she would need to have 11 conversations a day. Maybe if I ran it with Sally, she would need to have 4 conversations a day. Maybe if I ran it with Maria, she would need to have 2 conversations per day. It's all about you knowing what you need to live, what you want to invest in the next 12 months, and any debt that you want to pay off. That's how we make goals happen. And we break it down into a trackable number. I mean, if anybody here has taken Bold, they'll tell you 20 conversations a day, 100 a week, 20 conversations a day, 100 a week. So for Trey to literally live a great year, did he need 20 conversations a day? No, he needed 6. I think that everybody overestimates the amount of conversations you really need to have in order to hit your goals. And by the way, let's remember, Trey was talking about a goal where he made nearly $250,000 a year. 6 conversations in a day. We're not talking about, Trey, if you have 6 conversations in a day, you can make an extra 40,000. I'm talking about an extra $250,000 from 6 conversations a day. Now, the next logical thing is, George, if you're telling me that all I have to do is follow this simple spreadsheet, and this simple spreadsheet was going to, change my life because I would know exactly how many people I would need to talk to per day, the logical next question is, what do I say to them? Give me the script. You're telling me I have to talk to 6 people a day. What do I say? Here is the gold in today's class. It is a simple 3-question script. And if you guys learn how to use this simple 3-question script, I promise you, you will sell more real estate next year than you have ever sold in your life. All right. So is everybody ready to write this down? Question number 1. How are you? Wait, shocker. Question number 1, how are you? Now, I realize it takes forever to write down those 3 words, so I'll give you a second. Question number 2, how's your friends/family? Question number 3, how's work? Now, I realize that what many of you just heard did not seem like the script of a real estate conversation. Let me explain to you why it is the greatest real estate conversation you've ever heard. What actually makes people buy and sell real estate? Life events, marriage, death, birth, divorce, job loss, job gain. Grandma has to go into a home. Brother's getting transferred. Sister-in-law is changing jobs. Life events is what actually makes people buy and sell real estate. And so if I were to have a conversation on here and I were talking to Kevin and I picked up the phone and I said, "Hey, Kevin, how are you?" I'd be listening to Kevin. For what? If Kevin is going through any life events that are going to cause him to transact some real estate. Now, I get it. I don't actually say, "Hi, Kevin, how are you?" Just like I don't say, "Kevin, how are your friends/family?" Right? I would say, "What's up, Kevin? How you doing today?" And then here's the hardest part for somebody like me. I have to shut my mouth and I have to listen to Kevin. Because in question number 1, I'm listening to Kevin to see if he's going through any life events that might cause him to transact some real estate. But question number 2 is way more powerful because the way it actually gets said in real life is, "Kevin, how's mom doing? How's your sister? All right. How's Uncle Ted? How's your cousin?" And I'm going to start mentioning every single person that I know in Kevin's life and seeing how they're doing. And now I'm not listening to Kevin. I'm listening through Kevin. And I'm listening through Kevin to see if anyone in his orbit is going through a life event that might cause them to transact some real estate. So question number 1 simply gets me to know whether or not the contact in my database actually has life events going on. Question number 2 allows me to tap into my entire contacts sphere. Now, question number 3, though, question number 3 is the money question. How's work? So if I were to ask you guys to ask your database question number 3, how's work? They would probably tell you one of 2 answers. 1, it's good, works great. Or 2, anybody want to take a guess what the other option is? You could even type it in the chat. What's that?
They're unemployed.
Oh, snap. Unemployed is not exactly what I thought. I was kind of expecting you to be talking to an employed person, but work is going good or unemployed would fall under which category? Work sucks. I love when people answer number 2. I love when people answer number 2. Because when they answer that they're unhappy with work, I use the same line over and over and over and over and over again until I get what I want. Now listen to this line. When I say, hey, Jose, how's work? And he says, man, work's a pain in the butt, man. Work sucks. And I'm like, Jose, it kills me to hear you say that because I love what I do. And I'm just wondering when you're going to give me an opportunity to talk about doing something that you might love doing with me so that you can stop doing something that you obviously dislike. Now, some of you might have just heard me saying, hey, you should get into real estate and sell real estate. Maybe they're getting into real estate. Okay, cool. That's a path. But if I tried that on anybody on my block, right? You think I'm going to the heart surgeon who lives across the street from me and going, you know what? You're unhappy being a surgeon. You should try selling real estate. No, they're not going to give up being a heart surgeon to sell some real estate. But you know what they might do? They might take some of that income and buy cash flowing investment properties so that they could have enough to replicate what they currently make in order to be able to cut back or stop doing what they don't enjoy. I want to bring people into my world. All right? I want to have conversations with them about why we should work together. Maybe that is they're an investor. Maybe that they're a flipper. Maybe they're a hard money person. Maybe they become a realtor. Maybe there's somebody who's in my downline. Maybe there's somebody who's on my real estate team. How are you? How is your family/friends? How's work? If you have that simple 3-question conversation with everybody in your database once a quarter, and by the way, you don't need to have it with everybody in your database. Remember, if we were going back to Trey, in order for Trey to make the money he wanted to make, how many people did he need to have this conversation with every quarter? 344. If Trey had a database of 10,000 people, does he need to have this conversation with 10,000 people every quarter? No. He needs to have it with 344. Because that's the number that gets Trey to his goals. This is not about living someone else's life. This is about knowing how much real estate you need to sell to live your best life. I had a real estate coach probably my second year in real estate. We were on our path to closing about 99 homes that year. And he said to me, what's your goal for next year? And I said, I want to sell 200 homes. And he said, great. What do you get from 200 homes? And I said, a lot of money. And he said, no. What do you get from 200 homes? And I said, maybe you didn't hear me and the phone cut out. A lot of money. And he said, you're not going to hit 200 homes next year. And I paused and I went, okay, I didn't exactly expect my coach to tell me that I'm not going to hit my goal. But he said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down everything you want out of life for next year. And next to that, I want you to write down the dollar amount it's going to cost in order for you to actually live that life. Now, this is pre me establishing a lid-based goal chart. But when I wrote down everything that I wanted and I put a dollar amount next to it, I needed to sell 145 homes. That's it. 200 was a made up number because I didn't know what I actually wanted. And I didn't understand the path to get there. I was never going to hit 200 because at 145, I was living the life I wanted. And so each and every one of you, I want you to take this sheet and I want you to fill it out for the life that you want. I want Jose to fill it out for the life he wants. I want Anthony to fill it out for the life he wants. I want Sherry to fill it out for the life that she wants. And then work your way backwards. See, if you have a coach, I don't care whether it's the pro coach in your office, whether it's the team leader in your office, I don't care whether it's the team rainmaker of the team you're on. If you have someone in your life who will say the following words to you, did you hit your daily conversation goal? That's all you need. Guys, I ain't talking about spending $10,000 a month buying leads on Zillow. You know why I don't spend any money with those companies? Because I know my clients are going to sell before they're on Zillow. Why? Because they don't go to Zillow and click on that button to see that home until they're going through a life event that actually makes them care about going through a real estate transaction. And if I'm having this conversation with people every single quarter, I beat Zillow to the punch. I already know that they're changing jobs. I already know that someone has passed away. I already know when someone's going through a divorce. And since I already know these things, I then can set my world up with a simple smart plan reminder. How often do I need to talk to them? So if you're wondering, remember I started with 4 smart plans, and so far I've only told you how to use one of them, the quarterly call plan. Well, the others are very simple. If I come across anyone who wants to potentially become a client in the next 0 to 6 months, they go into my cultivate stage of my opportunities and they go into a weekly call plan. 0 to 6 months, weekly call plan. If they're between 6 months and 12 months, monthly call plan. If they're between 12 months and 24 months, quarterly call plan. And if you're wondering what that looks like actually set up in real life, it's ridiculously simple. I'm simply talking about the cultivate stage of my opportunities and 3 simple stages called watch, nurture, and hot. If they're hot, they might do a piece of business between now and 6 months. If they're nurture, they're between 6 to 12. And if they're watch, they are between 12 and 24. That's it. And they have a corresponding smart plan that they are supposed to go on when they go into any of these categories. The neighborhood nurture is nothing more than just another automated touch that I put people on once they go in to the cultivate section or once they become a past client. But beyond that, I don't want any of you to overcomplicate your life. I don't want you chasing 10 different ways to get business when there's one really simple way to do it. And by the way, the other number that's adjustable on this chart, conversations needed to get one client. If you're willing to have all these conversations face to face, you can change this down to 30. If you're going to have these conversations over the phone, your number is 50. If you're going to have these conversations over text, your number is 100. If you're going to have these conversations over Facebook Messenger, your number is probably 200. The further you move away from a face-to-face conversation, the higher the touch ratio. The colder the relationship, the higher the touch ratio. But the more you know someone, if I said, I don't know any single one of you here, that none of us have a personal relationship, if I simply just grabbed the top 3 rows or 4 rows of people on here and said, I'm going to set up a breakfast or coffee appointment with the top 4 rows of people on here, at the end of those appointments, I will have a deal. Because I will simply ask you 3 questions. How are you? How's your friends/family? How's work? And at the end of those 3 questions, I'm either going to know that you're going through a life event, that someone in your world is going through a life event, or that you don't like your job enough to come and work with me to make money together. Now, I've been talking, Al gave me the reins here about 40 minutes ago. This is where I turn it over to you guys. I want to hear minimum, I want to hear 3 ahas, takeaways, questions before I cry uncle. All right. 3. Thank you very much. Sherry, you're up first.
Okay. I liked your script where you said it kills me that you're unhappy because I love what I'm doing. And
I'm wondering,
see, I didn't know the next part of it. I'm wondering when you have time to, I don't know.
When you're going to give me the opportunity.
Oh, okay.
To talk with you about doing something together so that you can stop doing something that you obviously don't enjoy.
So I'm wondering when you're going to give me the opportunity to work with me.
Talk about doing something together.
Talk about doing something together, right.
Work with me assumes that they will want to be a realtor. Work with me assumes that they will want to be a client. But
right.
Doing something with me could be partnering with me on an investment. It could be loaning money to the people that I have that are buyers. It could be any one of 20 different ways you can make money in real estate.
Right. And you just said right before I got on, you said, come and work with me to make money together.
Right.
But that's a different way of saying, yeah, that's a good takeaway. Because when you first say it, it sounds like you're inviting them to work with you in real estate, but then.
Yeah.
And they say, what are you talking about? You want me to be a realtor? And I go, no, I don't want you to be a realtor. No. Yes, I want you to join Keller Williams. No.
Well, I mean, believe it or not, like the actual answer, and I get that response all the time, right? You want me to be a realtor? Oh, you want me? I don't want to be a realtor. And I go, why not? And then they tell me why not. And I say, okay, so let's talk investing. Now, I have no problem bringing people who are in my sphere. I hear realtors all the time complain when a past client of theirs gets a real estate license. When they're like, oh gosh, that was a good client of mine and now they're getting a license. And I go, okay. And so are they on your real estate team? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, well, are they in your downline? And they're like, well, I didn't talk to them about Keller Williams. And I'm like, So you still had a chance to bring them into your world. You still had a chance to work together. You're not upset they got a license. You're upset that they're not working with you.
Mhm.
Just because somebody has a license doesn't mean they can't work with you. Every single person who's on my team, I do not refer to them as being on my team. I am for this call, but if you were to talk to me about the people on my team, I would tell you I have business partners. That's all I have. I might be the rainmaker in the world of Keller Williams' eyes, but I have 27 different business partners. They bring a subset of value. I bring a subset of value. And in the exchange of that value is money.
That's one great point, and then I'll get off for other people. But my first MAPS coach, she said, I have somebody that works with me full time, Nina. She said, what do you call her? You know, or your assistant, your colleague, your buyer's rep, and you know, she said, call her your business partner, and that immediately gives respect to them, to all the people, you know, all of your clients, and it really, and they are your business partners, whoever's working with you. I think.
At the
Yep.
end of the day,
That's great.
you are all licensed agents who work for Keller Williams Realty, right?
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
independent contractors who work for that company. Every team relationship beyond that is nothing more than a referral partnership in a
Mhm.
glorified structure.
Mhm. Thank you.
All right. Who's up next? We got two more.
I have a question for you while we're waiting for the other two. So, I love this. It's so, someone else said it in the chat. It's so simple, that even I could do it. But is this literally, when you say, this is what you do, literally all you do? Like, if it is, that's awesome. Like, is it just, people can get to 140 transactions with just the smart plan and these calls? Or are you doing a lot of stuff on top of it that people traditionally do, like client events and all these other things?
So I get a lot of people that will they'll say, I don't know what to say to someone. Maybe I don't have that strong of a relationship with. And we do client events literally just as a reason to make that intro call. So client events and these calls is my business.
That's awesome. So that was going to be my other question. How do you get, if I'm a newer agent, I don't have a big database and I put my friends and family in, but there's not enough transactions. I have 70 people, but 70 people in my database won't get me to my number. How do I add people to that?
Yeah. So find a way to host a free event, free class, free meetup, right? Like there's a guy on my team who he's a full-time high school guidance counselor. And he was like, all right, George, how do I just sort of jumpstart what I'm doing? And I said, well, tell me about your hobbies. And he's like, well, I like to run. I said, you like to run like just for fun? Or he said, I was a great runner in college and I still go run. And I'm friends with this guy. He has this shop called the Haddonfield Running Company. And I said, okay, well, how often do you host a group run? And he was like, never. And I was like, do you like running with other people? He's like, yeah, I love running with other people. And I was like, then why aren't you someone who was at one point top 10 in the US in running the mile? Why aren't you hosting weekly running events? And he was like, well, what will that do? And I'm like, it just gives you the darn reason to talk to them, right? Like once they become your friend, I don't care what the reason is that you became friends. You could start a beer tasting club. You could start all right, this might sound very Philadelphia area of me, but so I moved
It's going to be
from,
a cheesesteak party, I bet, right?
I
No?
moved, yes, I moved from the area I grew up, which is a little town in South Jersey called Stratford, like super lower middle class town. blue collar town. And when I made some money in real estate, I made my dream happen and I moved to arguably the nicest town in South Jersey, right? So I moved to Haddonfield. Everybody on my block is lawyer, lawyer, doctor, 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 lawyer. And I felt like I didn't fit in and I knew no one. And so I said, what do I know that other people like? And in talking with the other dads at the school, people were like, hey, did you try the cheesesteak at this place? Hey, did you try the cheesesteak? And I went, why don't we get together once a month as a group and let's all rate a local cheesesteak place together. And so now it's up to the point where I've got 15 other dads from the neighborhood and the last Friday of every month, we pick one spot, we all meet up there, and we do a cheesesteak tasting. And it is nothing more than a reason to become friends with a whole nother group of people that I was not currently friends with, right? And then my wife, she got into hosting the Girl Scout stuff, right? So now we are not the people who are in the group. We're the people who run the group, right? I don't want to join your group. I want to create a group. And the only way I'm joining your group is if I'm the realtor in your group. If there's another group that's kind of like what you're doing, start a competitor. It's okay to have more than one beer tasting club. It's okay to have more than one running club. It's have more than one craft making club. But all you're doing with the events is simply teeing up the easier life conversations.
That's great advice. Great advice. One other question that I had, I'm thinking if I'm a new agent, I'm listening to this, or any agent, what is the conversation? How does it differ from the very first time you call people in, as opposed to when you have a relationship? Let's say you have an open house, you add them to your database. It feels a little bit different if you're saying, hey, how are your friends and your family, if you don't know the first thing. So is that first conversation any different, or is it still essentially the same?
So let's look at it as the difference between farming and fishing, right? What I'm describing to all of you is verbal farming. All right. Now, sometimes you have to fish. And that means you've got a piece of bait on a hook that you're throwing out there in order to try and reel someone in. All right. So when I first get somebody brand new, as they're building this part up, I tell them you have one of 3 ways that you can meet someone tomorrow and get a check in less than 30 days. 1, identify a property that they can fix and flip or buy and hold. If you identify a property that someone can make money on, guess what? You'll find buyers out of the woodwork. So 2, you can find people at an open house. So just like Al was saying, I can stand there and I can literally let the people come into me. Or 3, and this is a little secret sauce here I'm going to be revealing, we're okay working with tenants. It's okay to take 10 small checks a month instead of having to worry about, I didn't make one big check. And so every new person, I want them to meet as many tenants or potential renters as possible, because what do you form when you're helping someone do a piece of business? A small relationship where you get to know them, you get to know their family, you get to know the other people involved in their needs. And people who are tenants, they don't want to be lifetime tenants. They want to buy. So if you get tenants, those tenants next year will be your buyers. And next year's tenants will be your next year's buyers. And then 3 years down the road, those tenants will be your first set of resellers. And there are a billion different ways you can get. I mean, we can't go super deep into how you get tenants, but there are a billion, like, guys, Craigslist, Facebook. Like, if y'all just went on to Facebook today and just said, I've got a property that's coming up in Bergen County. It's a 3-bed, 2.5-bath in XYZ school district that rents for X. I guarantee you people are going to hit you up through your direct messages and say, where's that at? My sister, my cousin, my whoever. Fishing for tenants is the easiest thing of all time. And so having ways to get those little relationships or break the ice, those are simply tools in a tool belt. But you need to have the repeatable action that you do every single day. And that repeatable action is, I need to have X number of real estate conversations.
So I'm still, how does that, I guess I'm really asking more for myself. I'm curious, how does that vary for, let's say it's, again, an open house person or somebody who came to the cheesesteak party, but you didn't really get to talk to that guy at all. You just have his name and a number because he came to the party. That very first call, do you recommend still just kind of, because pretty much everybody, likes to talk about
you.
What's that?
I'm inviting you to a free event, right? So let's say that I met you at an open house, okay? And I'm simply just calling and being like, Al, what's up, bro? George Kelly. We met at 123 Main Street this weekend. How you doing?
Good.
Awesome. Look, Al, all I want you to do is just hear me out for 2 seconds. I have another open house coming up, same town, similar type property. If you'd like to meet me this weekend, I'll be over at 234 Main Street between 12 and 2. If you don't want to show up, no big deal, but I at least wanted to let you know, since you were interested in that one, I'd love to see you at this one. I don't care about like forming a relationship with every random stranger. I'm looking for chinks in the armor, right? I'm looking, and if I call Al 10 Als and 10 of them blow me off, I'm okay, because there's going to be one of him who's like, oh, that's cool, yeah. And then when I shut my mouth, people have a tendency to just talk and just talk. When you leave a vacuum, they're going to fill it. So I get this question all the time, Al, which is, well, what if I simply ask the 3 questions? How are you? How's your family? How's work? And I'm talking to a person who's like, I'm good. Yeah, they're okay. Work's work. If I'm having a conversation with a person like that, then all I do is shut my mouth long enough after the 3rd question that they fill the vacuum. And human nature is to fill the vacuum with one of the last 3 questions you were just asked. Most likely, the last question you were just asked. So if I just stop talking, the most likely thing you're going to say back to me is, how's work with you? Well, what do I do for a living? I sell real estate. I'm going to tell you about the world of real estate one way or another, whether it's your life event or whether it's me reminding you that that's what I do for a living. And depending on how close we are, if I'm talking about my like super close VIP list, my top like 20 people, if they say, oh, I'm good, George, how's real estate? I always respond with the same thing, which is, I mean, real estate's great, but I'd be doing a heck of a lot better if I could get a referral from you. And I do it with a smile and a wink and a nod, obviously. But what programming am I putting in their head? That I would be doing a lot better if you would come up with a name to give me a referral. And so once I learned that conversation and have learned how to have it pretty fluently, I put it into my everyday life. So if I'm sitting next to you at our kids' basketball game, I'm going to go through the same 3-question script. If I'm standing next to you at the pool, I'm going to go through the same 3-question script. This is not I got to pick up the phone and dial for dollars. This isn't a just listed, just sold campaign. I'm trying to teach you guys that you can have this conversation with anybody in your life at any moment, at any time. And if you know how to have this conversation and you compound that with my second favorite script of all time, which is how's the market, right? The answer to that question. I feel like those two things, they're worth $1 million. I mean, how many of you guys, Al, what would you say is like the size of a big team in your office? How many agents?
10 agents.
10 agents is a big team. If anybody on here built a team of 20 agents in a year, what would you say? Would you say that person is probably like a real estate rock star in your area?
Yeah, definitely.
So then I have a question for the people on the call. If I asked you to think about your database, and I would like you guys to answer down in the chat because I'm realizing we're having a little disconnect between the chat and our voices coming off here, right? If I were to ask you to simply call your database right now and ask them just question number 3, simply question number 3, what percentage do you think would say that work sucks? 70%? 40%? 50%? 90%, right? So let's take it from just a simple number of 100. Let me go through. I'm scrolling down to the bottom here. So I see David Garcia writes 90%. Al writes 25%. All right, Al, if you called the top 100 people in your world, 25% of them would say that work sucks. So that means there are 25 people in your database right now that you could pull into working into real estate with you. Now, is there any path that maybe you could send them to real estate school for free?
They score.
So what you're telling me is sitting in just in your top 100 right now, that you might have 25 potential realtors that you could send to real estate school for free. David Garcia's got potentially 90. We got 50, 40, 70 from Jose. Jose's got 70 potential people out of his top 100 that he might be able to build a team with. If only 20 of the 70 said yes, you're telling me in the next 12 months that Jose could go from whatever size business he has now to 20 agent team?
Yeah.
So my real question is, what's stopping y'all? Once we put our mind to it, once we actually make it that simple, the only question is what's stopping us? This was something that happened in my own life, guys, because let's be honest, between selling some real estate, trying to be a good husband, trying to be a good parent, being a regional tech trainer for the greater PA region, running my team, I own a real estate school on top of that, and I teach one night a week. Guys, I got a lot going on. And so I needed to think to myself, what was important to me? And I was like, I want to build a monster. I don't want to sit on the sidelines anymore. I don't want to just be comfortable with my 10 agents. From October through today, we've added agents number 11 through number 28 is joining next week.
Wow.
That's October to June.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's it.
So I want to be respectful of your time.
I
George,
get it.
this has been amazing. I love how simple it is. I think this is something that anybody can try to replicate, and maybe not with the same success as you, but some people probably would if they were able to follow it to a T. Is there, if somebody wanted to get more help from you, do you have like a coaching program? How does somebody, an agent, work with you if they wanted to?
I mean, if any of y'all have any questions about anything, my name is my email address, right? George Kelly at KW.com. I know that Bergen County is a solid 90 minutes north of me, right? So if you don't want to drive 90 minutes south, and minimum you get a client who's doing that north to south shuffle, I'll take care of them personally myself. The leads that come to me don't go get referred out. They get worked by me. And so I have 27 business partners, and I would love for nothing more than for Al to tell me that somebody on this call heard what we did today, and that 12 months from now, one of y'all got a 10-person team, a 20-person team, a 15-person team that you're like, I can't believe I never thought it was that easy. That's all I want you to think about, is that it's not that complicated. Just simply ask the question, find out if that's what they want, and then say the words, I want to work with you. Al, I'm going to make sure to send you that goal spreadsheet too.
That'd be awesome. So if somebody wanted to send you a referral, like how would you describe your area? Is it the Philadelphia, greater Philadelphia area?
I'm licensed in Pennsylvania and Jersey, but mostly personally, like I'm like Philly and then what we call the Tri-County. So Camden, Burlington, Gloucester counties. So if you essentially take I know Princeton's in Mercer County, right? But like if you take a dot at Princeton and then just go south, we work everything to there. And then anything above that, that's all you got.
All right. I like it. Well, thanks again. You'll have your contact info in that stuff we send to you, and we'll make sure to try to send some referrals your way. Thanks again for taking the time today. This was great.
There. Yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to jump on. I really appreciate everybody who's jumped on and stayed on. And if you could do one other thing for me, give Chris Stevens a hard time. He is your regional director. Feel free to always bother him and just tell him that I said that. Thanks, y'all, and hope to see as many of you at Mega Camp as possible.
Sounds great. Thanks again, George. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. See you on next week. Thanks.